5 days of the trading year. But at the same time, this is a gimme pattern. And I think that this panic's down tomorrow, down to the 130s, 120s, maybe even under 1. We can get some big stop losses going off tomorrow. I also want to short NJPI. So let me just show you how I am here. Do you guys have any NJPI to short? And I asked him this over email because I didn't even have my instant message set up. This is how out of it I am. But NJPI is also having its first down day. Ooh, look at this. NTFU is coming back up. Good. I'm glad I played it so cautiously. I have a very small position. I don't need to short big. We still have an hour left in the trading day, but here are the time and sales and the plays right now. And again, this is a classic first down day. With the morning panic, it dropped from 2 down all the way to 130. So if it closes anywhere in here in the 140s, 130s, 160s, I actually don't want it to take out this low because then I might be tempted to take profits, and I really want to try and hold this overnight because I think that this is going to panic nicely tomorrow even more. So I just have a small position right now. What do I have? A few thousand shares? 6,500 shares on 1.47. So I'm down like 5 cents a share right now, which is fine because I have such a small position and I just wanted to do a live trade. This is this new feature on Stocks to Trade where you can see stocks that are under SSR halted. Pretty cool. And Superman is trading. We got some alerts coming in there, but this is a classic first down day. Hold on, let me pull up a chart of this exact pattern. This is a blog post from a few years ago, 4 live penny stock trades on video, and here's my tribute to a legend who had just died. This pattern has been working so well, and I show some videos, but this is basically it, it goes up every day, you get a little crash and then a bigger crash. I did pay 12 grand on the penthouse of the Roosevelt Hotel, and made 4 grand when I was in Rome. It's the same freaking pattern. Hold on, let me find a better blog post. One sec. Alright, here is a better blog post. Seemingly unchanging $1 million pattern. You can look in the URL up here. Look at this. This is from freaking 2010. Okay? And it's the same exact pattern where you have it going up, these kinds of pump-looking charts every single day, and then you get a big crash. Same pattern as always. And this is in one day, HHWW. I was shorting this with, Thinkorswim. Now they're part of TD Ameritrade. Now they're part of SUP. But this dropped from 2.8 down to 130. I want to say like 20 or 30,000 shares, and I covered way too soon. NXTH, I nailed it. I was actually trading this one short from a Whole Foods. And then there's just some more examples. And it's always that first red day, that first crash, that's usually the telltale sign. And here we are on NTFU again, and it's just hanging around 150. So down a few cents a share. I was trying to refresh because I don't think this 152 bidder is real. The data is not always perfect on clean sheet stocks. Beware of that. But it doesn't really matter what it's doing right now. I'm not looking to cover in the last hour of the trading day. If it closes anywhere around here, anywhere in between 140 and 160, I'll be looking for a retest here of the 125s tomorrow, and hopefully, we can get another panic. If it takes out 125, it can go to 1. I guarantee there's going to be a ton of stop losses at 1, so there's a decent chance that I'll be able to cover this, under $1 a share tomorrow, and make, I don't know what I made. I'm not even good at math. Let's say if we get panic under 1, this dropped from 2 down to 127 today. Let's do some math. Hold on. 2 minus 1.27 divided overnight too. So the morning panic today really is 36%. So let's say it closes right now at 143. What would a 36% drop be? Down to like 90 cents. I think that's a good level to try to cover tomorrow. I'd be happy to make 50 cents a share. Let's see if there's any support in the past few days. I mean, there's actually a lot of support here in the 120s. This might be tough to crack. It's not that much of a surprise that it bounces. But it's the first red day. You know, whether it goes down to $1 or 90 cents or even double bottoms here, you know, I'm perfectly happy with that. And yeah, I mean, this is just aiming for a morning panic. So actually, right now it's 143, 144ish. So that's a good sign. But again, it's, you know, this is a very small. So we have trades going off at 143, 142. It's a very small position right now. Oh, 141. Oh, it looks like we're actually 140. Whoa. Look at this. We're getting taken out. Yeah, this 152 is not real. So now it's, kind of wish I had a bigger position. Damn these live trading videos distracting me. Oh yeah. What can you do? Now you can see that I'm not perfect. But I still have 6,500 shares here at 147, so how much am I risking? I could chase it, but I want to show you kind of that you can do this with a smallish account. This is my high net worth broker. Their minimum is 30,000. I don't make the rules. I wish they had a smaller minimum, but I have a $9,600 position. So just use this as a guide to what you can do once you get to 30,000 or 50,000. If you want an intro to this high net worth broker, by the way, just email me, admin@timothysikes.com. They do have trading software. I'm just literally not set up yet, so that's why I'm IMing in my orders. It costs me like a penny a share, so I'm just wasting money left and right, not being set up and not being efficient and focusing on teaching instead of just trading. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, that's my spiel for today. We'll see how it closes. I'm definitely going to hold this overnight. Just a question of whether I add to my position or not. And then I'll film this tomorrow morning too. So you'll see that. Thank you. So I'm actually thinking about covering 138. So I'm short. I added to my position. So I had 10K short, and now I am roughly 7K short again. So I guess really no change. I covered some. Look how thin this thing is. It goes up. So I'm a little worried now because it came down to 130, and there were big bidders at 130. And as we know, support this morning was 125, and then we have all this support here at 125. It also cost me 2 cents a share to hold it overnight. So I'm kind of just trying to hedge my position a little bit. I'm still 7K short. I've locked in, like $400. I covered like 3,000 shares at 131. I'm short at 145 after fees, around like $300-400. But this is a hedging game. Oh my god, I have tweets coming in. Come on, guys. Just let me freaking focus here. I'll move this thing down so you don't see everyone's messages to me. There we go. It's an imperfect science. While I think this is going to crack tomorrow, I do have to be careful with, my position size. I get 100 shares. And the fact that I'm not, really set up to do my own trading. And the fact that, this thing is way off its highs. So I'm not used to this in many different reasons. And also, if you watched my video lesson earlier today, or I guess by the time I post this, it'll be yesterday. Now there's a big bidder at 135. If you watched my video yesterday, 25,000 share seller here at 140. You know that I'm not perfect right now, and I want to play it very safe. I'm not Aaron Rodgers hot right now. Oh, I didn't know it's probably 139. Covering like a little bitch. So I'm not going to go aggressive. And the buyer just got taken out, so I'm playing it way too safe. Get it? Alright. So I'm out. I made like 8 cents a share. After the borrows, 6 cents a share. So I made like 600 after the commissions. I made like $500. And now it looks like it's coming right down to the bottom again. So I just played that way too safely. But I don't mind that. I don't mind playing it too safely. I want you guys to get in the habit of playing overly safe. If you're not having, a good range streak, if you're not properly set up, if you're on bad Wi-Fi, if you're, shorting a stock with a new account where you don't have control, you have to IM in orders. I mean, I am not set up perfectly right now. And so that's going to affect my decisions, and that just did. And I probably just psyched myself out of this. And when some of you guys see this video, you'll be like, "Oh God, what a bitch!" Well, now we have some buyers here at 137. But I will always play safe. Okay, this is one thing that I've learned in nearly 2 decades of trading. Safety first. And while I think this is going to be a perfect drop tomorrow, I'd rather be short MJPI, by the way. MJPI is freaking perfect, but there's no shares to short. Look at this. This is a perfect first down day. Took out the support and the 6s. Look at how much this thing is up. This thing could just keep going. I have no borrow, no cry on this. Look at how beautiful this is. Ugh. From the 3s up to the 8s, now back down to the 5s. Can't find shares to short. So that's a play that I'd rather do. NTFU. I don't like it. There's something about it where I'm just not sure because of, my setup. I mean, the stock itself, first down day, you got to short it. But given my setup and given my lack of Aaron Rodgers hotness right now, if you watch the NFL, you know. If you don't know what I'm talking about with Aaron Rodgers, then shame on you because he's an inspirational figure right now. But long story short, I did my first trade and I made, nearly 10 cents a share, and after commissions and fees, roughly $500 or $600. So it's okay to exit too soon. It's okay to play safe. It's okay to trade like a coward. It's okay to say, hey, if you go in with a plan to hold overnight and you're not holding overnight, that's okay. That's trading. You're not a politician. You don't have to stick by certain rules all the time. I wanted to hold it overnight, but I also saw it got down to 130 and there was a wall of buyers there. I also know from talking with Tim Tommy, he's short from 199. And I'm proud of him. He's short like 20,000 shares at 199. So he's up, 60 cents a share on 20,000 shares. I mean, that's a nice 20,000 shares up 60 cents a share. I mean, that's a nice $8,000 gain. He might be covering soon. I don't know. I'm not going to ask him. I don't really care. But I want to bring it up because you also know that other short sellers are short from the 2s and the low 2s. And short selling right now is a very scary game. So if we look at
get some lunch,
we got to play it safe. Let me pull up an SSS because I want to show you why I shorted it and why I'm covering now.
Right,
I think that'll be a good lesson for you to see, how to implement this. I know the SSS takes time, and with fast-moving stocks, it's tough. Now that I'm out of this stock, I can actually analyze it and pull it up one second. So for those of you who don't know, the SSS is from my trader checklist guide. Please use it. And you can analyze the stock. We have 2 tickers here because you can analyze the same stock at different prices. And I think that's very useful right now. So let's analyze NTFU. When I shorted it at roughly 150 at first, I averaged down, but when I was initially shorting it, it was 150. Now let's analyze it here at 139. Not much of a change, but as you'll see, I think, and I haven't done this ahead of time, so I don't know how this is going to play out, but I think that you're going to be able to see the difference. So the pattern of the price, when I was shorting it at 150, it was fading in the afternoon, and I thought that it could, retest or break down here and maybe come down to the 120s tomorrow. Notice also the bid and the ask. I mean, we have some bidders here at 138 and one seller here at 139. After 139, well, the guy just came in at 141, but after that, I mean, it goes all the way up to 148. So you don't have as many buyers and sellers separating everything, and this very well could be a double bottom now. That's the main concern that I have. At 150, I wasn't concerned about a double bottom because it was fading, and I thought that it would just continue to fade. Now we have new information that there was a wall of buyers at 130 protecting the day low, so it's not going to break the day low with 15 minutes left in the trading day. I can guarantee you, not guarantee you, but I can predict it pretty confidently that it's not going to break the day low. At 150, and it's fading, and it could have still broken the day low. So now we have more information, and that changes things. So when I'm shorting a first red day, stock fading, probable first red day, probable morning panic the next day, that's awesome. Fantastic. This is a perfect pattern. Now at 139, it's still probably a good pattern, but as I said, we've seen that now look at this, now there's buyers here at 138 and 137. We've seen a wall of buyers show up in the 130s, protecting the 120s where there's also a lot of support. So it's probably still going to be down tomorrow. It's probably still going to crash, but I don't know as confidently as I did before. Look at that stage. Oh, just absolutely. That's a beautiful fade. No support at the morning low. Cracked. That's how it should be.
Go.
Let's get back to it. So now the pattern, it's still a good pattern, but it's not a 20. I'm going to take it down to the 15. This very well could be the bottom of the 120s, 130s. Risk reward. So me shorting at 150, obviously it could have still been a bottom at 127 and 130. But that still would give me profits of roughly 20 cents a share, which is what I took on 3,000 shares. So even if it double bottom, it's still probably going to, get there. It's probably not going to bottom just at 140 at a random number. If it is going to bottom, it's going to double bottom. And that number was roughly 125 and 130. So at worst, if I was wrong about it really crashing, then I'm still going to make 20 cents a share. But as I analyzed in the previous video, I also thought that this could go down to 90 cents a share. So if it does have a pivot, it's still good. 60 cents of downside, let's call it 20 cents of upside, 3-1 risk reward. Most likely it's going to go down. I'm still watching. I still haven't been shorted. I'm going to close it at all. I wish I could pause time to figure out this stuff. Risk reward 3-1. That's pretty good, but it's not great. Eventually, that's it. Not very. It's got a 5 out of 10. Past performance history is spiking. I haven't even gone over short selling yet in my trading checklist, guys. This is one of the chapters I have to work on. But past performance, its history of spiking is actually a bad thing. The fact that it can spike so fast for sure, you don't like that. Obviously, there's more downside. I'm sure this is over, but it's scary. So for shorting, this is not a good thing that it can spike so quickly. It's going to go back down. Let's get back in again to this trading. Not really wanted to. So past performance history is spiking. It's a bad thing because it can spike so fast. I'm shorting this, and my personal sample is clear. I'm aiming for a morning panic on a first red day. That's pretty good. We'll get better than that. 20. Actually, I'm going to lower it to 18, just because right now shorting is tough. Recent catalyst, first down day, overextended stock. Pretty good, not great. Market environment, very, very scary. Very, very scary right now for shorting. Even though this is a perfect pattern, I'm still scared. So I'm going to find out like MJB Onion. And, oh my god, look at MJB. Look at this thing. I can't believe that there's no shares to short of this. Oh my god, you're killing me. In freaking 10 minutes, it's dropped from 6 down to the 3s. Oh my god. So beautiful. No borrow, no cry. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So ridiculous. No borrow, no cry. No borrow, no cry. Hey, hey, hey. It's actually a potential goodbye, but I'm seeing it now. I'm making a video. Goodbyes. MTF Yield, it looks like there's a big short in there at 139, but I still don't like it. We'll see why in a second. I have a feeling that I'll be able to show it numerically. We have 10 minutes before the market closes. Risk reward here. So now what if it does bottom at 125 and 30? Your only potential reward is that, you might be able to make 10 cents a share max. And if it bottoms and it squeezes because it's not easy to get out, and you could be getting out at 170, so you might lose 30 or 40 cents, you might only make 10 cents. That's a negative 3-to-1 risk reward. That's bad. That's bad. I'm going to drop those down to good. It's still a first red day, so it could still crack. I'll drop this down to a 5. Let's see if I can get lower for tomorrow. This is another thing that you'll see me go over in my follow-up on Trader Checker. Wow, somebody is really selling a lot of 139. People are buying it, but it isn't budgeting. So that's even more dangerous because it's good that you have a big seller, but what if that big seller, is done? What if somebody keeps buying it? It's like, okay, no more. Then you have a definitive double bottom. I don't like that. So when I do the next chapter on Trader Checklist about short selling, you'll see that you also have to think about what is the possibility of being able to get back in. With buying, obviously, you can sell, you can get out. With shorting, sometimes you get out and you aren't able to get back in. So you have to think about that before you exit. Because I might be playing it safe that tomorrow there might be no shares to short. But Rice just told me there might be no shares to short. So I can probably get back in. That said, even if I can't get back in, it drops so quickly, there's no guarantee that I'll get executed. Let's short a little. I can do it halfway, right? I don't have to short all 10,000 again. Let's short 5, 10. Now we're going to learn, and we're going to see how it reacts to my short. So now I'm pretty confident that there's some sellers here at 139 and 138. That makes me more confident. Right as I say this, it's taken. Look at this. Look at how quick the data can change. As I said that, it looked like it was coming down, and then somebody bought a lot at 138. Short of 138. So now I'm back in, and this is, good and bad. This is what trading is all about. You don't have to take a huge position. You don't have to take a no position. You can take a small position, and that's what I'm trying to do. I think I just got 1,500 shares here, 138. If I have anything else. You see how inefficient this is, that I have to actually rely on somebody else to put in my orders? Insane. Not a good setup at all. Yep, I got those. So I'm short 2K. We'll just focus here for 7 minutes before the market closes. I'm going to get back to the SSS. So now there's a big seller at 138.
US 2 east to 90th Avenue Northwest. Continue straight for 40 minutes to 90th Avenue Northwest. Let's take US 2 east. Continue straight for 30 minutes to 101st Avenue Northwest.
And the cool thing is also, if it does take out that 130, 125 level, all these flip files will get out, and then you can have it to it. So I'm hedged kind of both ways, and I don't know what it's going to do. I'm not psychic. I'm hoping for it to do account, you can do that. When you have a smaller account, you can't scale in and out because you're wasting precious trades. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you make 10 cents a share or 5 cents a share. If you have a small account, you have to be more aggressive on your longs and shorts. So therefore, you should be more patient with the trades that you take. I'm very fortunate to have, have basically a big account, but I also earned that big account. I have some students who start with big accounts, and they don't really do well because they don't appreciate it from the ground up. So those of you wanting a big account, be grateful that you have a small account and that you can now challenge yourself to grow it. And you get better and you learn lessons and you self-develop versus somebody who's just given 100 or 200,000. It's very rare for anybody to have success when you're already starting with 6 figures because your mindset is just so fucked. And it's kind of sad to watch, But anyways, 124 by 125, I covered some. I could cover all right now for like a $600 profit, but I don't want to. I covered a small amount just to test to see if, frankly, I can even get taken. And within, 2 minutes I was. So that's a really good sign. The fact that it's, right at this key level, it could still bottom. In which case, I'm glad that I covered some. So I'm kind of like hedging my bets. Even though all the signs look good, pointing towards a morning panic, you can just never be sure, there might be some buy-ins, there might be a promotion that goes on right now. So again, I'm a safety first kind of guy, but I locked in like $532, I think, which I locked in yesterday. I've locked in like another 150 today, so I'm up, like 700, and I still have 5,000 shares, and ideally I'll cover those, after 124, there's nobody until 105, so I don't know if we're going to get the big drop down to 1, but that would be awesome. I would love to cover the rest at 130 or at 106 and make 30 cents a share. That would be $1,500 and roughly $2 grand overall on the trade, and I freaking never put in more than $10,000 on those trades, so making $2 grand while using 10 grand is pretty good. As you see, my setup is not that great right at the high end. My orders, I still haven't been set up my own trading business on that road broker yet. Because again, this is happening right after I pushed the funds into the account. I haven't used them in like a year and a half. So not the best time for a trade to pop up, but you don't get to choose when great trades pop up. absolute junk company. ETRM is a total junk company, but in this market, you gotta respect the junk, and it just keeps going. So I don't necessarily get to choose, oh, GFFN is not halted anymore. Look at this, 15 now. Oh, it's gonna get halted again in a second. Watch it turn red. It's turning at 15. 11 by 15, 12 by 14. I mean, this is junk too. So you have all this junk right now, and you have to respect it from the long side. But I greatly prefer shorting. You know, my structure of trade just now on NTFU is very nice. And that's it. You know, I'm not looking for trading this right now. Let's just see. So I asked him if he had shares to short. Look it out for inefficiencies. If I want my work setups. I had my red set up, you know, I can just do it myself. So as it is, I am here. I waste seconds just asking for shares. I waste seconds trying to get executed. It's so much. It's just a ridiculous setup that I have right now for trading. So bear with me. Normally, without seeing I am in my orders, I just have to get my trader set up. I still make it to
In 5.2 miles, turn right on 101st Avenue Northwest.
About something. I mean, I covered that pretty as good as can be expected. You know? I took advantage of what I covered. I'm happy with it. And, you know, 26% from top to bottom. Obviously, I covered some yesterday in the 130s, which I didn't have to. I'm going to show you safety. I covered some this morning at 125. Again, I didn't have to, but I showed you testing. And then I covered the bulk of my position at the best spot possible in my trade. So this was a good trade. I didn't catch the entire move. Obviously, you know, 10-year time trading it at 199, trading 20,000 shares. I'm excited to see what it did. And those of you message me and told me that you have good have shares to short yesterday morning. That's awesome. So the shorting is a little more complicated because you have to find shares to short, and if you get out, you have to be able to find shares to short. So not a perfect strategy. Got some sellers this bounce is weak. I would have been surprised to see it go back down. You know, you have to kind of look at this like a seesaw in the momentum. And the momentum clearly was, okay, this is down, but you know, no true panic. They weren't cutting through it again at, you know, 105, 106. It was good, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 112, 115, 116. But now the momentum has shifted, and now there's some sellers here at 118. But the momentum keeps going. They went to the longs. You see that they're just all the recent trades are at 118. So we're eating away from the 118. This is the other 120s. I thought that 118 was going to be the high, and then it's going to shift back going. But there's just not that many sellers. You know, in front of me, it's down 50%. Yesterday, it was at 240. Now it's at 120. So this stock is down 20%. You see that this stock is down. This is the classic number 5 right now. This is a good buying opportunity. I wouldn't really necessarily get by it because I don't know how much it's going to bounce, but I wouldn't necessarily short this. I'm glad I had the right mindset. I was, you know, covering at 110. Anyways, this has been my live trade. I'm going to get back to the chat room. I'm watching DFFN, but there's no shares to short. I'm watching ETRM, but I'm scared of that. I'm watching MTFU. If this bounces enough, I'll look to reshort it. But I don't need to reshort it right now because it really hasn't bounced out.
In 3.9 miles, turn right on 102 Avenue Northwest.
It didn't get a panic than I really thought that it would. So they weren't necessarily the sellers. But we did get a nice drop. We did get a nice crack of the support at 125. 125 should act as resistance on the way up. So I'll look, if I am going to short it, I'll be looking to short around 120, 125. But I doubt I'll be short it just because it's illiquid and, it's down 50%. I took the meat of the move, made 1,800. I'm happy. Thank you very much. My name is Tim Sykes, and I teach people to trade stocks. I'm a self-made multi-millionaire. So this is the ideal trade I'm talking about. I want you guys to understand every single aspect of this trade. Tim Sykes here. December 22nd, 2016. The market has been open for roughly 1 hour. I have locked in roughly $2,000 in profits. Did not trade either of my plays perfectly, but I took the meat of the move, which I'll talk about in my DVDs. And this is why I love teaching, because $2,000 in an hour, that's cool, that's good money. But on Wall Street, that's actually not that much money. You look at what the top traders are making. But I'm not trying to teach you how to trade like the top traders who are making 10, 50, 100 million a year, because their strategies are not applicable to you, the average retail trader. You don't have their capital, you don't have their tools, you don't have the know-how, and that's okay. And the good news is that $2,000 in a day is pretty damn good in the real world, outside of the little bubble that is Wall Street, okay? And frankly, I've met a lot of these top traders. They're not better people for making so much money. They're weird as fuck. They have drug addictions, they have prescription pill addictions. It's really not a good place to be. If you really want that life, go for it. But I'm much better, and I think that you're much better off if you just try to make $1,000 or $2,000 a day, and it adds up over time. This is how I've already created several millionaire traders. So if you like that, leave a comment and write the word 2,000 with a $. If $2,000 a day is good enough for you. And I'm curious to see how many people think that actually $2,000 is good enough. I've met all sorts of people. I have students now in over 80 countries. Some people think that it's too little. And I'm just like, oh my God, there's something wrong with you. Because $2,000 in a day is damn good money. And this is how I've made my, nearly $5 billion now, averaging roughly $2,000 per trade. Today I actually did 2 trades. I'll talk about that in a second. First, we got to talk about this sale. We have this holiday sale for Hanukkah and Christmas. It's just going to be a few more days, saving 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% off DVDs and newsletters. Use it, especially in the holidays. We have a long weekend coming up. You can take the time off and you can study. My How to Make Millions DVD is just crucial to watch, okay? It's 35 hours long. It's your foundation for everything. It all goes to charity. We've now raised over $2 million for charity with this DVD. Also, Spikeability is my newest DVD, and Penny Stocking Part 2, Penny Stocking 21 are required watching. Also, if you really want to learn how to short sell, especially these morning spikes that are happening, watch my Top Students DVD trading tickers. And now let's talk about today's plays. First, let's talk about Oprah. Oprah reveals that she's lost over 40 pounds with Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, for those of you who don't know, WTW is the ticker, and I was buying this years ago when she first got involved, right in here, and the stock went, basically from 6 to 12, and then it kept going to 28 on hopes that she would really change the company. Hasn't really panned out, but now, this is pretty good that she's lost 40 pounds. So, I immediately thought this is a potential buy for me, but I don't want to just buy any stock. I need to see if it really has potential. Pre-market was trading between 1140, 1160, come down to like 1120 at the market open. Nothing great. But when it takes out the day high right here at 1160, that is my time to say, hey, wait a minute, this could have legs. That's literally all I'm doing. This is one of my main strategies.
In a quarter of a mile, you'll arrive at Liberty Ross.
They have good spikeability, as I explained my spikeability, and see if they can have legs. And sure enough, It did, and I did not time it right, okay? It spiked big right in here around 10 a.m. I was out here in the 1190 area because frankly I was in around 1160, out at 1190. It wasn't breaking 12. It had tried to break 12 a few times and it couldn't do it. So I got out and made like 30 cents a share. Not that much. The thing that actually really pushed it over was CNBC. This is literally right at 10 a.m. WTW soars after Oprah lost going down. So CNBC and their usual slow as fuck reporters offer you the opportunity. And I'm not bitter. I'm very grateful that their reporters are so slow. Okay, this news is out pre-market. But this is the beauty of penny stocks, low price stocks, because it's not efficient markets. That's not proper grammar. I wanted to say a few different things. It's not efficiently priced. These markets are inefficient. So CNBC doesn't really care about WTW. It's nice with overall. It's $1 stocks. It's not a stock. But it is not Google. And it's not GE.
You arrive in 1,000 feet.
CNBC's ratings are at multi-decade lows because they're purely just entertainment. They're not good if you actually want to make money. So this is where the opportunity lies. When CNBC is tweeting about it and talking about it, guess what? It spikes all within like a minute or two, like 10 minutes in this case. But if you had known about it earlier here, 1150s, 1160s, 1170s, guess what? Then you can sell into those late comer CNBC peers, like a lot of my students are doing. I have a lot of students tweeting me. If I forget you or don't highlight you, I'm sorry. Jimmy made some money on HTBX. I'll talk about that in a second. Gary made money on GSAT. So that's cool. That was a play that I had the other day. TKAI was on Quincy. Quincy made some money. Where was it? So Nick made the good overnight money on ANY. I'll talk about that in a second. Hovan had his biggest gain. Very nice money here on GSAT. Look at this. Look at this. This is an awesome game by Hovan. Good job, man. GSAT. I was buying that the other day. I sold that one too soon. I'm not a perfect timer, okay? This is the beautiful thing about my business. I'm not a hedge fund manager. I'm not a prop trader. It doesn't matter how much I make personally. I'm trading with a freaking small account. I'm like dropping 1,000 shares of WTW. So it doesn't really matter. But if I can show you these good opportunities and explain the game to you, then many of my students have learned they can do better. Iskander made 400 on ANY. Barry made okay, here we go. Johan made some good money on WTW, and he was out after CNBC. So good job. I don't mind when students do better than me, okay? I'm not in this to try and make the most. If I make $2,000 and all my students lose money, guess what? I'm not doing my job properly, okay? I'm here to teach you, and sure, I'm going to grow my account. I'm going to show you how to grow a small account. I started the year with roughly 12 grand. I'm nearly at 110,000 now. So I make my 1,000, 2,000 here or there. Sometimes I don't make anything. But if I can show you the game, that is what I'm concerned with. And a lot of people, kind of misunderstand that. So WTW was a good play today. This was a brand new play, and the opportunity exists where Oprah is going to spread over social media. CNBC and other news reporters will report on it later. I probably should have given it more time. The fact is I actually have a big interview in about 15 minutes, so this is going to be a short video lesson. I'm working on a TV show that's going to highlight several of my students. So get excited for that, some of you guys. It's going to be cool. I've done a lot of little TV shows. It takes a while to plan and to produce and to make it happen, but that's why I'm thinking I have to just be quick this morning. In this video lesson, I got to be extra quick. My big winner today, where I made over 1,500, was on ANY. And this chart doesn't look that impressive, right? It's this is a 4-day chart. It was going down. It was going down. Now it's going up. Now it's going down. If I didn't know how to read charts, I would say this is just gibberish to me. But yesterday, this was a very nice spike, okay? And this was, yesterday, what the January effect spikes look like. These little piece of crap companies that really can't spike that much. Start to spike at the end of January. I have a whole blog post on it. I'll post the link to the blog post that I wrote a few years ago, and I've done dozens of videos on this. Also, if you want to understand the January effect comprehensively, it's in my Tim Tactics and Tim Raw DVDs. But long story short, this is the kind of spike that can happen on very little news. ANY basically doubled on news of like a new product. Okay, the new product is out, that's cool. But the long-term chart on ANY tells the story. It's been fading a lot, okay? It's had a terrible, terrible year. And this is what the January effect is all about. Beaten down stocks that have been sold probably a little too much heading into the end of the year because people get a loss on their taxes, so they take it this year before the end of the year. That creates severely beaten down stock prices. So maybe ANY didn't deserve to go all the way down to 20 cents. Maybe it should have been at 30 or 40 or even 50 cents. So in January, when there's no more tax loss selling, it can spike. But because everybody knows that the January effect usually happens in January when there's no more tax loss selling, people start to anticipate. Sorry, there's alerts going off. This is a live video. People start to anticipate the January effect. So the last 2 weeks of December, you start seeing a lot of these stocks spiking. ANY was one. RGSE is another one. This one went from 20 cents to 40 cents. What was another one? INAP was spiking. This one went from $1.15 to $1.70. HTBX has gone from 70 cents to like $1.20. So we're seeing all of these kinds of crappy plays. EYES today spiked a little bit. We're seeing all these kinds of crappy plays that really usually have a tough time spiking, and they can start to spike. So I tried to avoid it. I was warning people, when I first saw ANY yesterday. I missed the morning spike yesterday because it was so quick and I was busy with other stocks. But I was warning people not to buy this here at 38, 39, 40 cents. And I'm glad I warned. I said, I think this settles around 30 cents. And sure enough, that's what it did in the middle of the day. But it held its gains, This was not just like a big spike and it comes down. There's a chat room out there that's been buying, MPET, and it spikes and comes down, and it spikes and comes down. Look at this.
Off, you're good to go. 15.4? Yep. 54? 15.14, right? 50.14, right? 15.50, okay. 15.4.